Hello there. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here. Even if my voice isn't quite ready to have you here, but we're going to do this anyway. I want you to tell me in the comments what brought you here today. Are you feeling stuck in your job search, unsure of what's next, or just frustrated with the whole process? You can drop that in the comments, or if you don't want the people you currently work with to know, you just send it to me in my DMs. My DMs are free. Now, I want to set the stage. Okay, we're ready? I'm here in my studio and we're going to set a stage. I don't know what I want is the number one reason job seekers struggle. If you don't know what you want, job searching is slow, frustrating, and full of rejections. Now, when you do know what you want, everything clicks. Your resume, your LinkedIn, your networking, and interviews become so much easier. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. I had a client, Sam, who was applying everywhere, hearing nothing back. He felt lost, stuck, exhausted. Once we got clear on what he actually wanted, he stopped applying randomly and landed a better paying job that gave him his life back. This is exactly what we're doing today, getting you clear so you can stop spinning your wheels. Now, this is way better if it's interactive. I want you to drop comments as we go. The more engaged you are, the more you'll get out of this, and the more you will take with you, and it will change your job seeker life. So, why is clarity everything? Well, there's a wrong way and a right way. There's a wrong way and a right way to do a lot of things. And yes, actually, there's more than one right way for a lot of things too. I understand. But we're talking about job searches here. The typical job search is that you apply to every job that looks remotely interesting. You hope a recruiter finds your resume in the massive digital stack that they're dealing with, and you're feeling drained, discouraged, and directionless. The smarter approach: get clear on what you actually want. Target companies that align with your interests and stand out because your resume, LinkedIn, and interviews are laser focused. Now, imagine going grocery shopping without a list. Okay. Maybe there are people who do that. That's definitely not me. You wander the aisles, throwing random things in your cart. When you get home, you realize you still don't have what you need. That's what happens when you job search without clarity. Let's fix that today. So there's a two-step process to figure out what you want. Step one: identify what you actually care about. Ask yourself, what are you drawn to? Industries, problems, trends. What types of work excite you? Creative, analytical, leadership. What do you read about or talk about in your free time? What past roles or projects energized you most? Drop in the comments for me. What's one topic, one industry, or one skill you've always been interested in? And then I'm going to tell you a story about a client of mine. Now, I met her singing. And you can't tell by my voice this morning, but I'm actually a soprano. So, anyway, I met her there singing, and she's been paid to teach music, but she has these days a day job, a breadwinning day job in the business world. And we were talking about the fact that people assume because she is a musician and because she actually does lots of crafts projects that she is just totally a creative. The work she does involves a lot of data. And when you look at her creative projects, her craft projects, they're all about patterns. They're all about connections, everything she does. And even in her kitchen, she's a baker, not a savory chef. I'm all about the savory. And so it's actually kind of funny because if people looked at the two of us, they would say she was a creative and I was not. But she loves the patterns of data. She loves the patterns in the kinds of craft projects she does. She loves the structure of baking, which, in case you've never baked or cooked, baking is a very strictly delineated recipe, and you really can't go off it because that's the way baking works. Savory can be much more creative because it can be like, oh, let's just add a little bit of this here. And oh, I'm out of that. So I'll add a little bit of this here. And it really can just flow. So I found it really interesting that somebody who's never been paid to do anything creative and somebody who has been paid to do what's considered creative, and yet the one of us that is really about the patterns in data, patterns in crafts, patterns in baking, is the one who's actually been the professional musician. I found that so interesting. It's actually, obviously, going to help us really figure out, back to today's topic, what she really wants. So, you dropped in the comments what's one topic, industry, or skill you've always been interested in. And if you want to keep this private between you and me, you just drop that in the DMs. Okay. Now, let's talk about step 2. Step 2 is find companies that align with that. Once you know what excites you, you need to find companies that care about the same things. Research companies whose mission, whose products, whose values align with yours. Look for industry. Let's try that again. Look for industries that are growing and need your skill set. That growing part's important. One of the things I do in my coaching program is an exercise called trends. And what we're looking for is we're doing this thoughtful, curated process to figure out what you want and land you a job that makes sense for your career, moves you towards whatever you want longer term. We don't want you to get laid off in a year. Or if you get laid off in a year, you want to be in an industry, in a sector where there are tons of other companies that are actually thriving. So we need to think about how trends affect that. Okay. Last but not least, we're following key decision makers on LinkedIn and engaging with them. So if you're passionate about sustainability, you don't just apply anywhere. You look for companies leading in clean energy and green tech, or like one of my clients, she's an ESG goddess, and she's just had this amazing progress since we met, from a role where she was really constrained into this narrow focus into roles where she gets to be much more strategic. Okay. Now, a lot of people are just so burned out in their job searches and so stressed out. They're stressed out about emptying their retirement savings. They're stressed out about the possibility of losing their home. They're just demoralized by applying and applying and applying. So I just want to remind you that this approach saves you time and frustration, because you're applying to jobs you actually want. You're going to be more confident in interviews, but you're also going to show up as more attractive to the employer because you will genuinely have passion for what they do. In the 12,000 interviews I've conducted, I remember one time I asked somebody why they wanted to work for that company, and their answer was, because I need a job. Now, I understand more than you can possibly imagine needing a job, needing a paycheck, worry mares keeping you up at night. I get that. But if you want to get a job in a market that is kind of interesting right now, then you need to set yourself up for success. And applying to jobs you actually want is one of the ways you're going to do that. It will make you more confident in interviews, and you will attract better opportunities because your messaging is crystal clear. People will know who you are and whether you're a fit for them. So here's what I want you to do next. I want you to write down 3 things you are deeply interested in. Identify 3 companies or industries that align with those interests, and start following key people from those companies on LinkedIn. And I want you to report back to me in the comments here or in my DMs. So 3 things you are deeply interested in. Do that now. Then, after we get off of this, when you're done listening, I want you to identify 3 companies or industries that align with those interests. And then start following key people from those companies on LinkedIn. And I want you to report back to me. These are the companies or industries that I'm checking out. Here are the 3 people I'm following on LinkedIn. I want you to connect with me, because then I'm going to see when you start interacting with those posts, because those posts are going to show up in my feed. And that's how I'll know you've done your homework. Now, if you're ready to get clear on your next move and land a job that fits you, let's hop on a call and chat about how we can help you get these results much more quickly. So, we're about done for today. What was your biggest takeaway? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone struggling with their job search, please be a good friend. Tag them or share this training with them. And remember, clarity comes before action. Get clear first, and your job search will be 10 times easier. I've been helping people do this for 20 years. I've been the boss of as many as 400 people at a time. I've hired thousands of people. I've interviewed 12,000 people. I've read more than 20,000 resumes on LinkedIn profiles. Trust me. Get clear first, and your job search will become 10 times easier. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.